All right. I've been daily driving the JBL EON One Mark II for about a year. It is my main system. It's done me good, but it's time to upgrade. This is the definitive video of the JBL EON One Mark II and why you should upgrade to the PRX One. Let's go. First things first. All right, I'm gonna try to give you 5 reasons to pass and 5 reasons to pay for the JBL EON One Mark II. Should have come up with this a bit sooner. My bad. Hey guys, I am just finishing editing this video, but I just wanted to jump in because one of the reasons why I bought the EON One Mark II is because I was like, oh, battery pack, what's up? Let's go busking. We're gonna go make our name for ourselves. You're not gonna busk. Unless you're like already busking and in that realm, you're not gonna busk. It's kind of like how I've recorded a million YouTube videos and all my footage is just saved in hard drives that never get plugged in anymore. So I am finally putting this out, but that's another reason why that maybe only applies to me to just skip this, or maybe start off with like an SL1 Pro Plus or the JBL EON One Compact and then jump into a column array. In fact, just jump straight into the JBL. So sorry, this doesn't mesh with the video, but throwing that out there. All right, 5 reasons to pass, 5 reasons to pay. Number 1, quick setup. Let's see how quick. Not even plugged into power, all right? Got my iPad prepped on lock. That's not the battery. This is the battery. Second battery. Top part, battery is already in and it's already turning on. iPad down. Let's see. Spotify. Let's turn off the Bluetooth on my phone just to make sure it's only connecting to one thing. All right, we're gonna play whatever the last thing. Let's play this one. Oh, I was playing Barbie Girl. But for the sake of not getting disconnected, right? Boom. It's on. Cool. Number 1. Setup. What was that, 30 seconds? All right, let's turn this down before we get taken away. This is the quickest setup I've ever had, right? Up in 30 seconds, depending on your phone or iPad, less than a minute, all right? You have 30 seconds, let's call it a minute, 1 minute setup. That, in a year, has been the number 1 conversation starter with all of my clients. Or not even my clients, I'm talking about managers of hotels and restaurants and locations. You have the fastest setup. Nothing is connected. My guitar's not set up, my pedal's not set up. Maybe it'll take me 15, 20 more minutes to get everything else set up. But if you have sound getting out of your system, that gives you the perception of being set up, and that is the number 1 thing with this, all right? That's the number 1 reason to pay. Number 2, how many inputs do we have on this thing? 3 combos, a line in and an aux in, okay? Technically 4, well 5. Let's call it 4.5 inputs plus Bluetooth. Gotta love the Bluetooth. 4.5 inputs plus Bluetooth. You can kind of use Bluetooth and aux simultaneously. I will say sometimes I've had problems with it, but for the most part, it doesn't give you too many issues. I just did a show the other day. It was great. Number 3. This is kind of a love-hate. No gain stage. I do sounds for So Far Sounds. We need 10 channels, and short of me having a snake, I want to be behind the crowd listening to what I hear. So what's really cool about the JBL, but I also really hate, is there's no gain staging. All right, meaning, let me go ahead and give me, pause that. Compatible speakers, I want to control it. Meaning, that there is no gain. There is no fader. So I was running off of my Focusrite Scarlett to just get the effects off my DAW. I use an M1 14-inch Pro, 16 gigs RAM, 1 terabyte. And when you sound check, and everyone's faders is good for their microphone inputs, the preamps are better than the preamps here, so I like to use the DAW. No lag, which is great. When there's people in the room and the energy's up, they're gonna clip. And the problem I've found is I'm now using Logic Remote, not the EON One Mark II or the JBL Connect app. And I can't do anything about the gain stage because I have to go all the way behind them, sneak behind them, mid-show, mid-set. And I can't do that. So I see it there. I see it because I face it towards the audience. I see the red line. Here, I can slide this down. There is just one volume. And I'm usually maybe at 36, and then I go all the way up on my mains, and I will have clear output, but I am definitely redlining already. And I am a very loud vocalist, so you might have to bump this up maybe to 48 for someone who's not as vocal as I am. The reason why I hate this is because I don't know what this means. Like, I know if I gain stage, so I get it so that it's clipping only sometimes, or it's at the yellow, never at the red, then I know my fader will be the output on the mains, right? I'm not clipping, and I can just adjust it with the fader. I can push it out on the fader. Or if someone quiet comes in, I can push up the gain and then leave the fader where it is, right? You have a two-step process. Gain stage fader. This one is just straight up one level. What I don't know is from 6 to 0, -6 to 0, is that twice as much volume output? Because if I understand it correctly, 0 to +6 is twice the output. +6 to +12 is again twice the output. So I don't know what the output scoop is. Is it exponential as well? But you can definitely hear the increase in volume. And the problem also is it only goes in increments of 2. But the fact that you can have all instruments plugged in and you are all the way in the back of the stage and you essentially gain stage and fade it without the clipping, right? Because when you over gain stage it and it's clipping all the time, you have a dirty signal. Here, in theory, the way JBL has set it up is you won't have that clipping sound. But that's not really confirmed. But the fact that you are essentially doing that from your iPad via Bluetooth is very handy if you're just going direct into your JBL EON One Mark II. Now, the reason why I'm going to the PRX One is because I need 7 inputs and I also need more outputs. This has 30% more output. This goes from 1500 watts to 2000 watts, right? So I am constantly redlining at my SoFar shows, small venues, small coffee shop gigs. Like, it sounds great, but I am at the red line. I am probably clipping. And so 3, there's no gain stage, but there's a new protocol that you kind of have to learn as far as that goes. There's something that drives me crazy about the app though, and it's with any notification that causes a full screen notification, like battery power is down, it kicks you out of the app. Even if you slide down from your control center, it'll kick you out of the app. And the reconnect time really can vary from 2 seconds to 10 seconds. So that's pretty horrible. Pretty horrible. So I'll admit that's pretty horrible. Anyway, reason to pay for it is you can get it under $1,000. The SPL is, I think, $130, which rivals the L1 Pro 16. This thing is under 50 pounds. And what's great about it is everything condenses into the sub. You really have one thing to hold. The EON One, or no, the PRX One has a separate bag for the column array, and then the sub is separate, still under 60, but this thing is just one piece. So it's tough to forget things. You have the battery, you have the empty one, you have the top. So under $1,000, high SPL, rivaling the L1 Pro 16, if I'm not mistaken, as far as SPL goes, max SPL. As long as you're plugged in, right? This is still not on power, you can plug it in. So really portable, under $1,000. I got a display for, I want to say, 1100. You can get the demo version. I got it on Sweetwater. You can go to Guitar Center. They might be selling open box versions. So I told myself if it ever went on sale, I would buy it. Went on sale for a demo version, I pulled the trigger. So the number one thing that a lot of musicians who want to be gigging musicians like myself ask me, like, what do I need to do to become a gigging musician? I always say you need to be able to say yes to a gig. Saying yes to a gig usually means you need 3 hours of music, mostly covers. You need a sound system, and that's 2. So yes, you need the sound system and you need the set list. There's probably a third one I'm not thinking of on the top of my head. Fifth reason to pay for this, I will say the USBs. There are 2 USB slots in the back. Now, it will not charge this iPad from 0 to even 30%, no matter how long you run it, because you're gonna be running Bluetooth, running Wi-Fi. It doesn't push out, I think it's 5 amps that the iPad needs. It will charge your iPhone 12 Pro all the way from 0 to 100, so you can have 2 items. What I actually do is I have a GoPro mount here on the reverse side, because normally the speaker's in front of you. Unlike the Bose L1, you can't have the speakers behind you. You have to have it in front of you, and you need to be a certain ways behind and to the side of the JBL. But that also allows me to have a little light on a GoPro mount right here. This is my aperture. It's a really old school light. Doesn't have much output, but when you are doing smaller venues, they're not really dealing with stage lights. I will hang this upside down and then I will light the performer, and you can't even tell that it's, you know, a GoPro mount and just a cheap aperture light. I want to get a newer light that has more output, but for what I'm doing right now and for so far shows, it is more than enough. I use the second USB for the charging port, which is a USB-A to micro USB, really old school. And it lets me have a light on a stand, right? So it's USB. Let me give you, there's no stand. So I'll put that with number 4 and 5, no speaker stand. And that is kind of huge. Not having to carry a separate speaker stand has been fantastic. The Bose L1 Compact that came out, like, really changed the game. And really everyone's trying to be a copycat, right? The biggest differences for me of why I ended up here instead of with the Bose, or even with that one instead of the Bose, is I needed more inputs without having to buy a mixer, and I wanted it to have no stands. The thing that I'm gonna miss is there's stereo output from the Bose and 180 degrees spread. This one is either 160 or 140. So depending on how you set it up, you're gonna have this really sharp cone shape with dead zones beside it. But for most so far shows, it's not a big deal. For small gigs, it's not a big deal. My gigs have been getting bigger and bigger, and I also don't want to constantly redline it. So those are the reasons why I've got it. So there, 5 reasons to pay for the JBL EON Pro Mark II. A quick setup, 4.5 inputs, no gain staging, but complete control of gain wirelessly, under $1,000, good output, SPL 130, and then you have 2 USBs, plus you have no speaker stand, which is great. I love it, I love it. Here's some reasons to pass, all right? Number 1, peaking. Peaking. I should have added, you want that Bluetooth connectivity. I guess that's with the quick setup, right? Plus Bluetooth. Peaking is this constant issue. You are going to redline on this really quickly. Unless you're doing a coffee shop of under maybe 100 people who can fit there, you're really gonna be pushing this thing to the max. This is kind of a super fancy Bluetooth speaker that is just way too much for a small house party, but it is just barely enough for any gig requiring you to have good output. I would love to be running my speaker at 70% output just to have that extra headroom. In fact, I saw a video of someone from JBL was talking to a YouTuber talking about he leaves this on -5, the main output, just to have that extra headroom, and then he pushes everything else. You can see the peaking from the back side and the front side. This one only gives you white, which is okay, red, which is peaking. On the back, you can have individual channels have green, yellow, and red, so you can see when you're peaking, and I'm peaking pretty much all the time, right? So you are Unless you're doing tiny, tiny coffee shops. I mean, I'm getting away with hotel bar restaurants, or yeah, hotel bar and restaurants, like this really big lobby area of Grand Bay Hotel. I can push it because they don't want the output too loud, but you are going to meet your maximum output pretty quickly, at least in my experience. 2, I hate the app. App problems. With the app, let me give this again to you. As I said, you will get disconnected from this app constantly, as well as the non-functionality of this app, right? So here we go. Look how long that took to connect, probably 10 seconds. So here, I can connect in. Let's go ahead and let's play some music. I'm kicked out. So 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000s before I can actually get back into the app. The next thing is these faders. So if I want to get Shure 57 guitar, I want to get this exactly to 32, right? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. 32. Sometimes it's just not gonna let me get there. Like if I move, it never gives me the accuracy that it's giving me now. I don't know. Of course, when I'm trying to show you guys, it's working, right? So I don't know, maybe it's when my iPad gets really hot and on the fly, I'm trying to make really precise changes to certain people. Like all of a sudden the guitar is getting hot because it's a really good song and I'm trying to turn down the guitar. It jumps from like -14 to 24 and it constantly jumps and bolts. And so I'm like, look at that. I don't even know. I'm like tapping it. I'm not even touching it. So if I touch the fader, it goes there. Okay, that's interesting to know. Good to know. But having really accurate fader changes is really difficult on the iPad. Even on your phone, you're trying to get to 32 and it's just like, you release it and then it jumps down to 24. So that's a big, huge problem with this app. I will say from the iPad app compared to the phone app, you have so many different features, but that fader issue is a huge issue that really needs to be brought up. And I'm surprised it's not a bigger deal on YouTube. What I wish they had was a plus and minus sign, maybe right under the channel number, so that you can do really fine adjustments to the faders, maybe even in single digits. But for now, everything is in 2 digits. Okay, I also don't like, number 3, I don't like the effects. I don't like the vocal effects. The effects make me sad. I don't like the vocal effects. That's why I go through my DAW. I go through Logic on a Space Designer for reverb, because the preamps on the Focusrite Scarlett 4i4, 2 combo jacks in the front, 2 inputs in the back, it just gives me a better sound. I would rather have a strong output coming out of my Focusrite, and then I turn my gain down because I think it's line out into one of the combo jacks, and that's my output. It also gives me the ability to record singer-songwriter, solo musician sets and provide them that audio for them to use in the future. I've done that a handful of times. I'm on Logic, I just hit record. There's really 0 latency for the most part, because I don't like the onboard effects. And people keep talking about, I think it's Lexicon, and how they love their effects. And maybe I haven't dove down into doing custom effects quite yet, but out of the box, it's just less than stellar. I would love to give you guys an example, but you just have to like trust me on it. I just don't like the built-in effects. Number 4, no cable slot. I guess that's a weird thing. Shoot me a comment down below if you've forgotten the power cable for this thing at least once. I've probably forgotten like 5 times. Lucky it's a traditional power cable, like it powers a computer monitor. There's a 250 volt one that powers my GigBar ILS. I don't know if that's a huge difference. I feel like maybe there is, but it's the same 3-prong that will power your amplifier, right? So you might have spares laying around, but a really missed opportunity is to have it really all in one. If there was a small slot like those Fender Passports with the 2 speakers that click into the mixer board, the power cable can just slide into. Maybe this empty slot, I don't know what's inside there. Obviously there's a power current that connects everything, but if they could have used the dead space in that for your power cable and 1 more cable or a mic, that really would have made this a super functional, fantastic fantastic speaker. Would I still gig with the speaker if I didn't have a gig that one required more output, but two funded me to pay for a second speaker? 100%. I don't think you need to upgrade unless you're really hitting the limitations of your equipment, which I really am. But if that had it, then that would have been great. I'm looking at this laptop cover. It's about 8.5 by 11, and it just has little bungees over it. So you can put like hard drives, pencils and stuff. I think that slapped on the side would be a great thing to have. Cables, aux cables, some adapters and dongles, and that really would have made this a more functional product in my personal opinion. And finally, 5, the 5th reason to pass on this, I guess, is where I am. If you are a singing soloist, duo, maybe trio, doing gigs at bars that vary between 500 square feet to 5,000 square feet, right? You may as well just jump to the PRX One, right? One upgrade path, right? I guess another negative is there's no stereo, right? No stereo. If the PRX One upgrade path, if you are gonna be like me and you're gonna hit the limitations the moment you plug it into a gig, you may as well go into a PRX One, maybe even the JBL 32 Pro. And the reason why is because you don't wanna spend money on this. Say you did it, you bought it new, $1,299. Now you gotta buy this, $1,750 for that $500. Are you gonna lose the $500 when you sell this? Probably. And you would have had max output right away. The problem is, of course, there's no battery on this. So what my ideal situation would be, Rafi's ideal situation would be, because you have two things, right? If it's the Bose, it's 180 with only 2 inputs. And then you have the JBL, which is 160 with, let's say, 7 inputs, right? So these are your options. You have Bose 180, JBL 160. What my perfect situation is gonna be, because sometimes you need it, and this is actually on the requirements of so far, is you're gonna have, call it the PRX right here with this here, 160, and then you can have like a mini one. Let's call it, I don't even know what the JBL equivalent is. It's the S1 Pro Plus, right? So you have 160, 160. You essentially can run a stereo this way. You can run from an output of your PRX One, or even if I was gonna keep the Mark II, have an SL1 on the left side, no sub, but at least you have another output and you're in stereo. It doesn't split it left and right, but at least you have mono doubled. So I'm in an interesting situation where I have both of these big boys. I'm gonna keep the PRX One for sure. And I want to pair it with a battery powered unit to still have the benefit of a 30-second setup, right? SL1 Pro setup on Bluetooth sound. And while that's up, I'll set up the big boy, the PRX One, to power and set it up. And that would be my ideal. Right now, I'm in my ideal, but a big step up. I don't want to be carrying 2 subs around, but if I do a big event that requires 2 subs, 2 tops, I'm there now. I do want to supplement with either the S1 Pro or the JBL equivalent, which I don't know what it is, so I'll type it out here, because even the JBL equivalent has better bass and also has more inputs. The thing is, I can't combine the 5 inputs of my JBL EON One Mark II with the 7 inputs of the PRX One. So those are some things and food for your thoughts. I also chose the JBL because it is significantly cheaper. If I could have gone to the Bose L1 Pro 16 with the T8 mixer that doesn't even have iPad capabilities in 2023, it really hinders you from hinders me from what I want to do. I am a sound engineer for So Far Sounds, which I recommend you visit in whatever part of the world you're in. It's available in every major city. I am a singer, songwriter, guitarist. I have a loop pedal. I have a loop vocal, and I have a main vocal track, 3 tracks at the minimum, but I gig with a female who sings, another female who sings and plays piano. So I'm already at 6. That's why going to the PRX One and having a main out go to an SL1 Pro Plus would kind of be my ideal setup moving forward. So I hope that kind of helps you with why you should pass and you should pay, all right? Recapping, why you should pay for the JBL EON One Mark II is because of the quick 1 minute to 30-second setup with your Bluetooth setup. I always have a spare phone or an iPad that's connected to that, and I disconnect it from my main phone. Reasons you can ask below. Essentially 4.5 inputs. You can expand that if you have like a laptop with a Focusrite or a 2-channel interface, just to give you more channels and also give you access to the preamps from your interface. But really it does a lot for you. There is no stereo because it is mono at 160 degrees spread. You don't have to deal with gain staging, so someone who's really new, just go up and down that volume, should be fine. You can visually see where it's clipping in the front, and in the back you can visually see where it's clipping independently. And you have 2 USB ports. Not necessarily strong enough for an iPad, but at least it'll probably keep it alive if it's at 10%, so it won't die on you. You don't need a speaker stand because it's column array. And then of course, 5 reasons to pass. You are gonna hit the max capacity almost immediately. The application is still not perfect. The effects could be a lot better. There's no place to store the cable. You're gonna forget that cable a lot. I'm gonna buy a second cable actually. PRX One upgrade path. If you're gonna eventually outgrow this within a year like I did, I still think it was worth it because I believe I made over $5,000 in music gigs in the last, let's call it 12 months. So I've made my money back with it. I might be able to sell this for $800, so which is not too bad. And I think something that's important to add is I recently started working for Guitar Center, so I did get a discount of my JBL unit. But if you don't have that benefit, or if you have that benefit, jump straight into the PRX One Pro, and then maybe just have a Bluetooth speaker that's battery powered to be your quote unquote stereo, but also to give you that #1 setup. That #1 30-second setup is money. They will think you are the most reliable musician / DJ in the universe, and that will really give you the most street credit in your business. Between now and then, I do want to show you some tips and tricks that I found that are in the quick sheet. Here's the thing. If you are looking for a quick kill switch, on the main, if you press and hold the main volume knob, 3 seconds will mute the main outputs. But it also works independently for each channel. So press channel 1's volume knob for 3 seconds, it will kill the switch and mute it. The strange thing about it is when you turn it on and boot it up, and it imports and loads the saved parameters that you have, because you can, what's great about it, I guess what's great about it is you can save different parameters. So if you have 3 artists, like so far shows, I can save artist 1's sound inputs, then I can create a new profile, save number 2's, and then create a new profile, save number 3's, right? I guess that's something that's why you should pay for it as well. That part of the app is great. The problem is, if I load up, let's say artist 1's, and I didn't save it as all muted channels, and I pull a cable, 50/50, it looks red, but it's not actually muted. Or I guess this, I should say, is if it loads it as muted and saved as muted and I reload it, sometimes that mute doesn't transfer. So I still press and hold it, I unmute it, and I re-mute it if it's the first boot up or if it's the first load in of a different profile. So it's something to be weary of. But those are the quick kill switches. If you want to switch it to a traditional style mixer so that the knobs are just the volumes correlated to the channels, you just hold the back button for 3 seconds. You'll see all the switches light up, and that means all of these knobs now control the volume of the channel that it is on. Where traditionally, if you click channel 1, you'll see the words of reverb, echo, highs, mid, and lows. That's what the knobs changed. I don't like to change those on the fly. I do like to change the volume on the fly. So I will be in the quick mode. I don't know what it's technically called, but I will be in the mixer mode where it's just all volume. So those are some great things for you to know. And that's why the JBL EON One Mark II is super fantastic. I know this was just cut and dry. You didn't really get to hear it, but these are some things that no one is talking about here with this machine. This amazing machine that's done really great for me. but it is definitely time to make my upgrade. If I use both of these at a gig, I am really above and beyond what is being asked of me. I'm really hoping to switch this with something like an SL1 Pro, which looks super crazy with the wireless transmittability of it, but with those units, you have to have a speaker stand. So I might run with both of them. I really did intend to sell this and just run with a small speaker, but maybe I'm in a lucky position currently to have them both. So I'm gonna have that there, and we're gonna start up a new video of how quickly I can set this up, and let's see if I can figure out how to use both of these together because I have a gig tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Hit me with comments down below.